Hong Kong is closing several venues again amid a spike in COVID-19 cases. Chief Executive Carrie Lam has just announced that gyms, arcades and other entertainment venues will shut for the next 7 days. All restaurants will no longer be allowed to have dine-in customers between 6 p.m. and 5 a.m. The government will also roll back its easing of restrictions on public gatherings. Public gatherings larger than 4 are banned once again. Additionally, it will now be mandatory to wear a mask on public transport. The government will also encourage the private sector to revert back to work-from-home arrangements. Mrs. Lam said the measures are tighter than before as there is an urgent need to contain this new wave of the virus. Well, more than 610,000 Hong Kong residents have voted in the pro-democracy camp's unofficial primary elections. Organisers say the unexpectedly high turnout sends a strong message. The poll aims to help the bloc select candidates to run in September's Legislative Council elections. It's also seen as a litmus test of broader opposition to Beijing's national security law for the city. Despite government warnings, the primary could breach the new legislation. Voters didn't seem deterred. Now, at the same time, 13 pro-democracy activists are facing charges for holding an illegal gathering on the 4th of June. Despite a police ban, thousands had gathered at Victoria Park to mark the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square incident. The opposition figures have told court that commemorating the 4th of June is not a crime. If convicted, they could face up to 5 years in jail. The case resumes in September. And for more on the latest development in Hong Kong, we're joined by Dr. Lim Tai Wei, East Asian Institute Senior Research Fellow at the National University of Singapore. Thank you very much, Dr. Lim, for joining us this evening. So first up, this was an unofficial poll, but hundreds of thousands still took part. How significant is this?
The significance is mainly symbolic in nature because for pro-democracy advocates, it appears to show that there is some kind of will amongst the hardcore supporters of a pro-democracy movement that they still have some teeth to their bite and that they are able to show that they can turn up in strength despite the fact that Mr. Eric Tsang, who is the Minister for the Constitution, have already mentioned that this may breach the new national security law. So the significance is mainly symbolic in nature.
Symbolic in nature, perhaps, but it does also show by the turnout of this that that there is a large opposition to Beijing's national security law.
Indeed, the turnout was expected to be 127,000. But instead, it came up to 610,000. So again, this has been symbolically seized by the pro-democracy movement to show that there is still grassroots support for them, despite uncertainties and also the lack of implementation knowledge about how the new national security law will be implemented.
Organisers of the poll, they're now expecting the Democrats to win more than 45 seats in LegCo. Is this realistic?
Well, I think what the pro-democracy camp is doing is to forge unity. In this unofficial poll, they're going to choose 30 out of 51 candidates. And they're going to choose, according to them, the best candidates out of the 51. So the apparent strategy is to be able to field the strongest candidate that has the strongest legitimacy amongst sections of the Hong Kong society that are still passionate for democracy. So it remains to be seen whether this strategy will play out well, because it's the first time that it has been used. And it is also the first time that elections are held after the national security law is out. We still do not have a full knowledge of how the security law will be implemented. The institutions under the law are still being formed by both the Hong Kong government in consultation with Beijing. So this election will be sort of testing the waters of how far they can go.
Well, the Democrats appear united right now. How are they working together? Will the older and younger politicians be able to reconcile their different ideologies?
Well, during the Occupy Central movement, camp, that appears to be unity. And then there was some fragmentation after that in the post-Occupy Central because some felt within the pro-democracy camp that they did not go far enough, especially the younger crowd and the younger politicians, whereas the elder ones feel that they should be more moderate and appeal to mainstream Hong Kong society. It appears that with a national security law that is pushed through with much vigor and energy by the central government, supported by the pro-establishment forces in Hong Kong, that the pro-democracy camp feel that they have to now regroup and also to reinforce unity amongst themselves to sort of erase whatever polarization or divides that they had in the past. It remains to be seen whether this strategy can succeed, particularly in the context of a very determined central government working together closely with the Hong Kong government to push through the national security law.
Yeah, Dr. Lim, saying that Beijing appears to be clamping down on protest and dissent in Hong Kong through this Security Act. Could they now bar the pan-democrats from running for LegCo, though?
Well, if there are proof that the activities of the pan-democrats or the pro-democracy crowd are interfering with the local governments or the activities of governance, under the law, it is possible to be incarcerated under the law. So it remains to be seen whether this will be implemented. As we have seen, Mr. Eric Tsang, the minister or the politician, the government politician in charge of the constitution, has already warned that the unofficial polls itself, the unofficial primary itself, may be illegal under the new national security law. So again, everyone is watching closely how strictly implemented the new national security law will be. And this is in absence of the institutions which are not fully formed at the moment. So again, it is also a test for the authorities on how they can react to this. So both sides are kind of pushing their envelope and pushing the goal line to see how far they can go.
All right, many thanks for your thoughts this evening. As always, Dr. Lim Tai Wei from the National University of Singapore.